Black Americans have been indoctrinated with these lies for far too long, and I used to fall for the lies. It's disgusting to me that we are more focused on slavery, which ended in 1865, than we're focused on the veterans who are on the streets of San Francisco, homeless and begging for spare change in 2023.
This video is brought to you by Nefarious. It's funny because when I say the word nefarious and when you hear nefarious, the first thing that you're probably thinking of is a scary movie. It's not necessarily a scary movie, but it's an incredible movie with a great message. So Nefarious is made by the same people who made God's Not Dead and other movies like that, so you can see where this is going. Nefarious has an incredible story, and it's one of those movies that you have to see, you have to watch, and you have to pay attention because there's a subliminal message in there that I think will change your life, especially for the people who are unbelievers. I'm gonna leave it at that. Go to salemnow.com to watch the movie Nefarious. You'll thank me later. Like and subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you get notifications. Just like the video. Don't do all that other stuff. Just hit the like button. Let's get into this. The cost of statewide slavery reparations in California has been estimated at $800 billion. While a reparation committee in San Francisco has separately proposed payouts of $5 million per eligible descendant of slavery. Now, think about this for a minute. I thought black people couldn't get IDs because it was too difficult. And how are they going to figure out their ancestry if they can't even get an ID? So either somebody lying or people just dumb. I don't know which one it is. But I would argue this point, and just as a person with common sense thinking about financial gain, you know, you have to look at the totality of circumstances. You have to go back and evaluate. And let's start today. You say, what laws are in place that prevents black people from succeeding or experiencing the American dream? None. Your mama and them messing up really don't have nothing to do with the government. Now, if you could show foul play specifically from the government to your family, then maybe you can have somewhat of an argument. But to give people $5 million today from what somebody went through a long time ago, it doesn't make any sense. And if you know any reasonable financial truths, money isn't financial. Money alone, just cash in your pocket, isn't in any form of fashion financial security. If you don't manage the money properly, you're going to go to zero.
Joining me now is Xavier DeRousseau, a former BLM activist turned PragerU personality. Xavier, great to see you tonight. You have an interesting perspective on this debate. Explain.
Yes, I think it's important that, first of all, we call this exactly what it is. This is 111 ways to gaslight black Americans into thinking that we need to be dependent on a system of handouts in order to be successful. Black Americans have been indoctrinated with these lies for far too long, and I used to fall for the lies until I took a deep dive into the videos on PragerU.com and realized how easily debunked these fraudulent narratives surrounding systemic racism actually are.
That they are dangling the prospect of a lot of money and a lot of property and a lot of debt forgiveness. Does this end up blowing up in their faces?
Absolutely. This is never going to actually happen. It is so unrealistic to think that the average family in San Francisco is going to be able to pay $600,000 extra a piece. And you know, when people look at this list of the things that they're recommending, the most alarming thing for most is the $5 million going to each black person. But for me, as an American, I'm looking at this list and I see that they're wanting to sell homes at $1 to black Americans. As an American and as someone who used to live in the San Francisco Bay Area, it's disgusting to me that we are more focused on slavery, which ended in 1865, then we're focused on the veterans who are on the streets of San Francisco, homeless and begging for spare change in 2023. That's where they need to start sending their money.
Now, this proposal would essentially create X amount of lottery winners. And we all know the percentage of lottery winners that go bankrupt. And it's because they don't know how to manage money. And they've never had money before. And they take their money and they make the rich people richer. They don't do anything to have sustainable wealth in generations to come. They just make rich people richer. You know, if I sold a product that I know black people wanted, I pray to God the government give them $5 million so they can spend at least $100 million on my product. That's what the smart people are salivating, because they can see that the government is going to give them money. Because you're giving it to people who are on crack on Skid Row. That money ain't going to get used for any positive purpose. People are going to get extorted. People are going to get sued. People are going to get killed over this money. $5 million. People get $2,000 back on their taxes, and they doing stuff they ain't supposed to be doing. And I'm not saying every black person, but it makes no sense that you harm the finances of an entire state where there was no slavery. At least that's what I believe. There was no slavery, I don't think, in California. The entire state, for a few people that family members may have been slaves a long time ago. You know, and I would argue that it's too nuanced at this point, because your parent was a descendant of slaves. What if your parent was a descendant of a slave, but then the slave person in your family was only a slave for a small amount of time, and then they became free? And then they lived free from 18, 17 something, 16 something. And your lineage been free. They were slaves once upon a time, but they've been free. The generations and generations have been free for a very long time. What if your ancestry go back to Anthony Johnson, the first legal slave owner, who's a black man? Then what do? You know, and then if you really want to keep it 100, we need to go back to Africa, because, or you need to sue the Democrats. You need to sue the Confederacy, because how are you going to sue or not sue? How are you going to get reparations from an established nation that was established through the abolishment of slavery? The Union never owned slaves. The Union didn't believe in slavery. How is the Union, which was victorious during the Civil War, responsible for what the Confederacy did? Somebody explain that to me. The Union, the Confederates got into a fight. The Union won, and America was forever changed from the victorious side. And you want to say we need to be punished for stuff that the losers did? That makes no sense whatsoever. And we need to be punished as a nation for what the South did. That makes no sense whatsoever. And you know, another thing is that if y'all really want a reparation, just go back to Africa and get your reparation from there, because that's where you started as a slave. You didn't start in America as a slave, just so you know. I don't know what they teach them kids today, but the black man enslaved you, and the black man sold you willingly to the white man. And they watched you get on that boat, and they watched them pile you in the bottom of that boat like sardines. I would argue that some of them helped put you right in that boat, knowing that you ain't finna make it from here to there. And they didn't give a flying flip whether you made it or not. They took whatever goods and monies and services and whatever they got from the white man and sent you off on your way without a concern whatsoever. And why you blame it? Why are people blaming the white man? I do not understand that. White people were slaves far before black people were slaves. When you look at, you know, historically, it's like, what are y'all? The thing is that every single person that live in America could be complaining about slavery, about reparations, about wrongdoing. Everybody been done wrong, bro. Get over it. Get over it at this point. You know, I was telling somebody in my family, I was talking to them on the phone, giving them a motivational speech. And I said, I want to give you an analogy of driving a car. if you're driving a car and you think you're going to go down the freeway looking in the rearview mirror, you're going to crash. It's hard to see clearly the future if you're looking in the rearview mirror. It's hard to see out the front windshield when you're looking behind you. At some point, you got to stop looking in the rearview mirror and start looking in the windshield to make sure you go in the right direction. Because you didn't miss 3 lefts and a right turn looking in the rearview. And I feel like this is the same thing with some black people in America, is that y'all so worried about stupid stuff that you could be progressing today. And you worried about hundreds of years ago. Your people are dying today because y'all doing stupid stuff today. They ain't got nothing to do with slavery. Ray killed Pookie yesterday. That had nothing to do with slavery. He made a decision to go get a gun and rob this brother, or this person made a decision to go get dope and sell it to this brother. What does that have to do with slavery? Y'all need to focus on that. That will benefit your life better than trying to focus on slavery and focus on what the white man did 100 years ago when your brothers are the one killing you today. Y'all don't want to hear me. Y'all, listen. I'm the only one on the radio can tell you the truth like this. It's like if we would stop focus, it's just like if you take out the movement and all that stuff, look at your own personal life. If you still living for something that happened in the past, you are no good. You are no good for the future. You can't keep worrying about an old relationship when you're trying to get married. If you think you're going to get married to somebody, you got to let that go, sweetheart. Especially you Christians. And everybody else that don't have faith in God, that are lost without God, I'm not talking about y'all. Do your incense and pray to the galaxies or whatever you do. But for the Christians, what happened to forgiveness? We should have forgiven. I already did. Whatever was done wrong to my ancestors by whomever did it, I forgive you. Because I need to move on. Because I need to have a healthy life moving forward. I forgive you. Some of the people that were involved in slavery, I would argue, is not because they were evil people. I think some of them were brainwashed into it. You grow up in a household and they got slaves. What are you supposed to do? You think a little kid that's all he knows is going to grow up and say, you know what, Dad, you're wrong. And you shouldn't have black people out there acting like this. Man, these kids get brainwashed, coerced, and forced into this stuff, and they just pass down a generation of faults. Hold the phone. I'll be back after the break.